Welcome everyone to the next video in the playlist of making a classic browser game. You'll remember if you've been watching this playlist that we're trying to remake a multiplayer version of the game Deuteros. In fact, so far we've managed to create a Laravel site and we've installed a few of the dependencies, things that we need to make it work. We've structured some of the data for some parts of the games, and we've also done a bit of the extra software and libraries and stuff as well. Today we're going to focus on getting more of the data structure in place, more of the actual core game information that we need in the database for the game to run. So that's what we're going to learn today. Let's get started. Okay, so if you've been following along with the playlist, you'll know that we've used, I think we used, we were using Inertia.js, and we haven't put styling in everywhere. We put a little bit of Tailwind styling in this page here just to get something functional. But generally speaking, we've left it pretty raw at the minute. Since I made the last video, there's a few other technologies I've been looking at which I thought might have been something I want to use. One of them was Laravel Jet stream. This basically manages a lot of the authentication and teams and stuff. And I just thought that might not have been a bad idea to put in because it supports Inertia.js, which is what we're sort of building the site with. But to be honest, I think we'll maybe leave that to the next upgrade or to another game perhaps that we do. But I'm going to keep this on the shelf possibly for the future project because I'm using it in some commercial work and it's actually pretty nifty. But for now, we'll stick with what we've got. So today we're going to start with some more data structure of the game itself. So let's just have a quick look at what we've got at the moment. App, models. Oh, by the way, did we upgrade it to Laravel 8? Yeah, we did. Okay, 8.6 we're on now. Brilliant. Okay, that was something I was going to check. So that's fine. So app models. Okay, so we've got a few models in here. The body. Okay, so I think this represented the interstellar bodies, so like moons, planets, and stars, and so on. So that's okay. Factory, well, that was the orbital factory. Resource, yeah, I think resource was the generic name we were given to anything that was basically an ingredient or a production of things. So that could be like a raw element, or it could be a produced item that's used in some way. Ship is obviously fairly self-explanatory, and user obviously. The user login details. So okay, that's where we are at the minute. Now, let me just close these. No, I don't want to exit it. Okay. What I have, and I've kept this for a long time, is a bookmark. Oh, now where is it? I kept a book. Oh no! It's a stored web archive. Just bear with me while I look on the second screen here. Okay. So this was it. It was a bookmark actually. I thought it was a stored file, but this I've had this sort of stored for a long time. For those who remember GeoCities. So this is. I don't know. Can we make that wider? No, I think it's sort of gone into like some kind of holding page. But effectively, across the top you have the resources here that we were using, and then down the side all the different planets and moons in the game, in the original game. So where the green bar is, that planet produced that resource. So for the original, if we were to rebuild a replica of the original, this would be great. But obviously, for a multiplayer, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. So do players of different races, for example, all start on Earth, where they all have the same resource to get going with, or should we create another planet at the other end of the solar system with? So if we took, for example, Let's see, Neptune, Pluto. Let's say we took Pluto. It was a planet back then in the 90s. And let's say rather than have what it's got on green here, maybe we create that the same as what's on Earth. And that will give anybody, say from the Methanoids race, if somebody wants to be that, they could get the same resources. And then maybe one in the middle. Maybe we could find one in the middle somewhere. I don't know, one of Saturn's moons or something. So that we could have the three sort of races, each with a fair start on each. I don't know. I haven't quite worked that one out, but we can certainly populate the majority anyway, and we can always come back and change them quite easily in the seeder. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to create all the raw materials here, and then we're also going to create the associations to the various planets. So that's hopefully what we're going to achieve today. So let's get started on that. Now, I was messing around with this just in off record time. So I've sort of got an idea as to what I want to do. Let's go to the terminal. So let's PHP artisan make. Oh, do you know what? I'm not going to make a seeder. I'm just going to put it all in the default one. There are good reasons to maybe build separate seeders, but to be honest, I want to keep it all in here because we're going to be referencing created data with other data, and I think it's just going to be easier to stick it all in one for now. Shout at me if you're not happy with that, but it's the quickest way as well. Okay, so let's see. Rather than put all the actual data in the logic of the seeder, we could actually put that into a config file, and then all we have to do is change the config file rather than altering this code here, and this can just pull the code in. So I think I'd rather do that, to be honest. So what we'll do is we'll create a config file. PHP file, let's call it we haven't got a custom one, have we? No, we'll just call it Deuteros, and then everything can be in there. So let's return, and so let's, is that the right way to do a return? Yeah. So let's put in a seeder section first of all, just in case we want to use this for anything else. So let's put in a resources. Okay, so now this bit we're going to turn into a collection when we pull it out. We're not going to do it here. I don't like creating collections in the config files. I think recent versions of Laravel, it's not an issue anymore, but I'd just like to take that out. I'd rather leave it just as a normal data structure, as you can see, with arrays, and use the collect system for collections out in the logic. So anyway, that's how I'm going to do it. So let's see. We could put a key here. So for the first one, for example, we could put in and then put the details. But to be honest, the collection doesn't work like that. So it's probably just best if we just store it as an array here. So let's give it some details. Name is iron. Let's give it a slug. Now the slug's important to identify this resource for other data things that we're going to connect to in a minute. So name, let's call the slug just iron in lowercase. Okay, we'll put a sort on there just so that it doesn't get messed up. And the only thing I wanted to put in here really is whether if you remember that the resources is actually a combination of the raw elements and the produced elements, the produced products. So, you're going to have things like iron in here, but you're also going to have things like derricks and orbital factory sections and spaceship parts. So we could do with really saying which can be accessible from the planet. Or do we need to do that? If we assign them No, do you know what? Let's leave that for now, because we might be able to we could just probably manage that in the admin. If we assign the resources to the planet, then that will determine that we won't need to put a separate flag. I'm just wondering. I did put a planetary flag in, and I don't know why I've done it now. So maybe that'll go in later, but I can't think why I've done it. So I'm going to leave it out for now. Maybe we don't need it. So I'm just, for the purpose of this coding today, what I'm going to do is just put in enough of the materials to create one item. But what I'll do is before I push this up to GitHub, and by the time you see this video, it should have all of the stuff in, because you just don't want to see me coding all of this for hours. Be painful. On that note, I'm just going to copy in some of the stuff I have already done. Now, when I did this the first time, I did give them keys, as you can see, but we don't need them. If we're going to create collections from them, we don't need them. Okay, so you'll notice I put this planetary true. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. So I'm just going to change this to slug titanium, and then slug carbon. Now, so what we'll do now is we can put in one of the produced items. Those three elements will produce a derrick. So I'm just going to copy the derrick one. Name equals derrick. Slug equals derrick. Sort equals, I don't know, we'll call it 30 for now. Okay. So that's enough for us to create a recipe, which is the derrick. So see there, resources. So let's start with the recipes now. Is that right? Oh, okay. Okay. So again, we could use these. I did do it with a key, but we could do it as a collection. So let's see, what can we put in here? Name is derrick. Slug derrick. Okay, now if you've watched the previous videos, you'll know that we're doing this on a time-based system. So we're calling it clicks. For now, I think it's going to be every minute. We could possibly do it every 30 seconds. Let the server run a script every 30 seconds. But if we stick to clicks, then it doesn't matter how long or short we do it. That it's the number of clicks or cycles of the code running. So let's put a time on that. So I've called that clicks, and multiplayer games do well with upgrades. So as you upgrade something gets faster or powerful or whatever. I'm going to put like a high number of clicks in, but as people sort of invest in upgrades, we can also officially bring this down on a player by player basis based on their investment in the upgrade. So this is just like the stock number of clicks for now, and again, this could even change before anywhere near going live. So just wanted to stick something in there. One of the other features of the game, the original game, if you are familiar with it, is that some products couldn't be created on the surface. All products can be created in the orbital section, but only some of the initial ones can be created on the surface. So what we'll do is put a surface flag, and the derrick is true because that can be created on the surface. Now, so that basically covers the recipe details, but a recipe, as you can imagine, has ingredients and it has a product or products. Most of the time it's just one product, but we could do this where it creates more than one thing. Maybe something in the future could generate a product but create like a waste thing that needs to be dealt with, or some kind of side effect. So it's good to be able to keep multiple things in here. But what that means is that we need to sort of cater for ingredients and products. we could keep them as two separate sets of data. So for example, in fact, do you know what? I didn't do it when I was messing around, but I think I will do it now I'm thinking about it. So we could have an ingredients array, and then we could have a products array. So ingredients. Now, when these items are created, we don't know what ID they're going to be given. I mean, ideally it'll be 1, 2, 3, and then possibly, I mean, this won't be 4 because there's lots more resources to put in. But we don't know, to be fair, at this point what they'll be. When we pull this seeder data into the logic part, we're not going to know. So it'd be good if we had some kind of hook that we could use to say, well, get me the ID of the resource that had this hook. And that's why we've put the slug in there, because we're going to use that as the hook. So, for example, one ingredient for the Derek is 3 iron. Okay, so we can say ingredients. So this is going to be an array. So the first item, we can say slug iron. Now we do know that the slug of iron is iron in lowercase. So when we get the ID of that, all we need to say is, right, give me the ID of the object that was created with the slug of iron. And whatever ID that is, that becomes one of the ingredients here in the logic part of the recipe. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll see it in action a bit later on. Okay, we need to put a quantity in here as well. Now the way I'm going to do this is, how am I going to do it? When I did this the other day, I did ingredients as minus figures and products as plus figures. But if I'm going to have two separate lists for this recipe, then it doesn't matter. I can just put them both as plus figures. So I'll put a 3 there. Yeah, why is that? Oh, there we go. So we need iron, we need titanium, and we need carbon. So let's just copy these. Okay, titanium we only need, we need 4 titanium, and we need 1 carbon. Okay, and the product is a Derek. Oh, no, I need to put this as an array item, don't I? In case we produce more than one thing from a recipe. So slug equals Derek, and we also need to put a quantity. Again, quantities could be temporarily or permanently boosted depending on the player's investment in upgrades and such, but for the default is 1 Derek produced from this recipe. So there we are. We have the raw resources and we have the recipes. Let's see what we can do with that. So that's in a file called Deuteros, so we'll keep that open for now. Let's see, so seeder. So we want to be able to drag that file in first of all. So by the power of what I did earlier, I'm going to pull this in. Config, I'm going to call that Deuteros. So it was Deuteros was the file, seeder resources. Deuteros seeder resources. Okay, just a typo, that's fine. And so you notice we're pulling in, if you look at this code here, we're pulling in basically the contents of this array here. That's exactly what we're pulling in now. So we can make this into a collection by calling the collect method, and now we have a nice Laravel collection here under resources. Okay, so what can we do with that? Well, let's first of all create our resources. So This is just a simple loop. Excuse me. This is just a simple loop that we're going to do. So resources each function. Oh, that was no good. Function value. Okay, so now we just go resource create, and I'm just looking at how I did it before. We're not using a key now, so we can actually get away with just going to value. So now let's copy this line, and this is now recipes, and we're going to get Deuteros there recipes. Okay, so now we loop over these. Let's see. Yeah, I think we can do the same again. So, do we need to import that? I think we do, don't we? So import that class. So for those who are not using PHP Storm, you just need to put a reference to that at the top, and you'll need to do the same for the recipe as well. So recipe. Oh, hang on, we haven't created these yet, have we? Of course. Oh no, we haven't created these yet. Okay. So before we do this, let's just create that. So PHP artisan make model minus m recipe. Okay. Create stocks. Recipes. Yeah. So we've let's see the C there again. So for recipes, we've got name, slug, clicks, and surface. Okay, so let's put them in. Actually, let's come back to that. Now that we've got the model, we can carry on with our code, and we'll come back to this in a minute. But basically, yeah, we can create this now. So we should be able to import the recipe. App models recipe, yeah, cool. So we should be able to just create that with the value. Okay, yeah, that's good. So now we need to do the association. So let's go back to our recipes model. Let's just put those fields in here. So table. Ooh. So what did we say? Let's have a look. Name, slug, clicks, surface. Name. Oh. Name, slug, clicks, surface. Okay. Let's just put Oh no, no, we'll leave them. We'll make sure to populate each one when we do it. Okay, so then we have these related fields. Now, let's see. Do we want to store these in separate tables? I'm sort of thinking not, because it's exactly the same data, and this is where, as I said, the previous way I did it, I just put them all in one list, and the only way I determined whether it was an ingredient or a product was by it being a plus or a minus. So I'm wondering if we should just stick them all in one and determine that in the model. And we can just put a query on the model. So ingredients is where the quantity is less than 0, and products is where the quantity is more than 0. Oh, excuse me. Got some chips earlier. Do you know what? Yeah, let's do that. So let's just put that into there and get rid of the products. Okay, so we'll just stick it all in ingredients for now. No, actually, I'll leave this as it is, but we need to create an ingredients table, don't we? Ingredient. So ingredients is going to be, well, we need to have a reference to the recipe. So it'll have a recipe ID. Let's have a look at the seeder again. So we have a slug and a quantity. Now, remember the slug was to identify... sorry. No, sorry, I'm talking wrong there, aren't I? The slug... Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, slug iron. So the slug was to identify which resource here we're talking about. So we actually need a resource ID. Table... Okay, and then we need the quantity. That's it. We're going to come back in a second to how we get the recipe, the resource ID. So that's the ingredients based on this. We may elaborate on this later, but for now this will do as a basic. Okay, cool. So let's go back to our logic. So what we need to do now is create the ingredients. So I'm going to do what I've written before, see if it makes sense. I'm looking at it thinking, is that what I did? So basically we're going to create a collection from value ingredients. So effectively we are getting a collection made from this, but remember this is just one recipe. This here is one recipe. There's going to be many, so it's getting just this particular one at this point because we're just on the first recipe here. So this is all what we're grabbing out. So we're going to grab out these 3 items in this collection. So that's what these are here. Okay, then with that collection we can do what we've done before. We can just loop over it, put a callback in there. Okay, so what do we do with the callback? So we need to now get the resource that this ingredient will belong to. Now, remember at this point, we now have in each of these items this slug here. So we can use this to get reference to it. So the way we do that is resource equals, so this is where we're going back to getting it from the database. So you can do resource where, don't worry about this query, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, it just helps with the IntelliSense PHP store. I'll take it out in a bit. So resource where slug equals value. Oh no, I better call that something else just in case. Value 2. Value 2 slug. So that's getting this slug here, value 2, in each of the ingredients. So for each of the ingredients we're getting this slug value. So we know that the first one is going to be iron. So resource equals resource query where slug is value 2 slug. And we'll get the first one from the database. So then we can say, we can link to our recipe. We're going to create a relationship in a minute on the recipe called ingredients. Recipe ingredients, then we can do a create on that. And we want a resource ID and a quantity. Well, the resource ID, we have that here. Resource ID. And then we want a quantity. Ooh. And that's going to be value 2 quantity, and that relates to value 2, remember, is this, so that's going to be this one here. Now although we've got these as pluses here, do you know what, just for my own sanity I'm going to put minuses in there so I don't have to change the logic. Okay, that's it. But the problem we've got here is we're using the recipe ingredients relationship, but recipe is out of scope here because we're inside this callback, so we just need to pass that in. Oh. And we need to call that recipe, don't we? Recipe equals that. We then pass in the recipe and we use the relationship to create the ingredients. Do you know what? You're going to kill me if you're following along and doing this. Right, I'm going to put this in here. For the purposes of seeding, I just can't be bothered. But bear in mind, if you are doing this, the ingredients that are being used up have a minus. The products that are being produced are a plus. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so that should be enough to populate it. What we need to do now is the relationships on the models. So a recipe so we can create ingredients. That's obviously going to be a has many. Ingredient, and then we'll put that filter on it, so where quantity is less than naught, it's just like the identifier that it's being consumed. And so we can do the same again for our products. Except it's where the quantity is greater than naught. Okay, that's cool. So just in case you're wondering, I'm using the ingredients relationship here for both. It shouldn't matter. I don't think this will cause a problem when we're creating the data. The model references here are just when we're retrieving the data. So that should be okay. If it's not, we'll find out soon enough. The other thing we need to do in here is just put a fillable, just so that we can make sure the data goes in okay. So in a recipe, what did we say a recipe has? Name, slug, clicks and surface. So let's just put them in there. Name, slug, clicks, surface. Okay, so let's go to ingredient. Public function, recipe, return this belongs to recipe. Okay. Okay, so the thing that's of concern to me is I have this products. Oh no, it's okay. It still uses the ingredient class. So we should be okay. Yeah, I think we're fine with that. And ingredient belongs to recipe, but ingredient also belongs to resource, doesn't it? This one here. So we may as well put that one in. Belongs to resource. Any other relationships I need to put in that? Recipe. No, resource. Yeah, okay, so I think we're good for there. Okay, let's try that. So let's do a PHP artisan migrate refresh seed migration not found. Oh, that's okay. Okay. Oh, table recipes already exists. Yeah, maybe when I was messing around. Okay, let's just roll back. Yeah. So I need to get rid of them really. Delete tables. Should be nothing in. Oh, okay. Let's truncate that. Alright, cool. So everything's loaded. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So we should have a recipes table and we have nothing in there and nothing in the ingredients. Now my suspicion is that PHP artisan is that the cache needs to be cleared. Let's try that again. Yeah, thought that was it, but obviously we now have an error. Well, that's good, at least we know it's trying to. So unknown column slug in resources. Unknown column slug in resources. Insert into resources name slug sort. Let's have a look. Where are we? Resources. Name planetary sort. Oh, we didn't give that a slug. Okay, let's put that in. Let's try that again. Planetary doesn't have a default value, so that's for that's for the resources again. Oh, okay, so let's say what did I put in the seeder? Okay. Okay, so these obviously can be got from a planet. Oh no, we decided not to do that, didn't we? Let's get rid of that. So we need to take that out of the resources table. Array to string conversion. Okay. Let's see. So I'm trying to insert something into a string that is an array. So let's try and find out what it is. So it's the recipes table. Let's have a look at that. That's here. So recipe equals recipe create value, which was from recipes. Let's have a look. Oh, name, slug, clicks, surface. We don't want the arrays, do we? So, is there any easy way to... Probably not. Okay, let's do it long-handed. So name, slug, clicks, and what was the other one? Name, slug, click, surface. And that's going to be so presume, yeah, I think we can just put them in there, can't we? We can't put the ingredients in there, so I'm going to have to just manually put each one in. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, okay, that's gone in. So let's see if this worked. So recipe, so recipe, we have a entry, Derek, 20 clicks, can be created on the surface. So hopefully in the ingredients table, we'll have a foreign key of 1. Yes, 4 items, resource 1, 2, 3, and 4, which let's just check that's what they are. Iron, titanium, carbon, and then 4 is the Derek. Obviously that'll be further down when all the other minerals are in. And the relevant quantities are in, minus, 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 plus, resource ID, recipe ID 1111, so they all relate to the one recipe. That is it. That is good. That recipe now is in place and can be used in-game by the players as part of their progression. So that's excellent. That is brilliant. What I'm going to do is, before I push this up to the GitHub repo, which I'll put a description in the video as normal, I'm going to populate this with everything. I won't do it on camera now, as I say. And next video, we'll probably look at assigning the resources to planets and just carry on the development of the data being added on. So hopefully this has been enjoyable for you to see how this is developing. Yeah, please like this video if you thought it was useful, and subscribe if you want to sort of keep up to date with more and more development of the game. Any feedback at all on the game whatsoever is welcome comments. Please feel free to get in touch. Please look out for the next video soon. Hopefully we can keep this going. And as always, thank you very much for watching.